Welcome to Pet Shop Podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Iron Dutch Murdoch.
And, well, let's go and start the show off like normal. The death bells have tolled 2 times.
You know, yeah. Of course, talked about Bob Saget here recently, Betty White. And now we got a 2-in-1-day blow. Meatloaf, unfortunately, has passed. And then right on the heels of Meatloaf announcement was Louis Anderson. And Life with Louie and Family Feud and stuff of that nature. And Baskets most recently. I feel like we're kind of going into the Undertaker business here to where we're more like an obituary section podcast where while we're doing this, we're reading the passing of celebrities. So,
Right.
Anyways.
They will be missed.
They will be missed. You're exactly right.
Yeah. All right. Let's go on and let's talk about, I guess, what happened last night. Francis Ngannou is now the undisputed UFC heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
And Figueiredo won back the flyweight title from Brandon Rando. So we'll start with the heavyweight championship fight. Obviously, we didn't watch it, and from my understanding, it was what it was. It wasn't nothing special.
No, the highlights. The highlights were very unremarkable, to say the least. I mean, Ngannou got a couple of good slams in. Surprisingly, he was taking Gann to the ground. Gann looked like he was attempting a Kimura on him a couple of times, but I bet by and large that probably wouldn't have lived up to the hype that we would have hoped for out of a fight of that caliber. So, a little disappointed there, but again, as much as I enjoyed Ngannou, what to me that fight shows was that if somebody goes in there, man, and is, not susceptible to just, getting, laying their chin right in front of him, I think he has a hard way to go. And I think if you'd have seen Stipe try to do the same basic blueprint that he did in the first fight, I think the second fight goes to Stipe as well. But of course, obviously, he tried to do a stand-up game and it cost him. So, of course, there's a few other things. It was a smaller ring too that Stipe was in.
Correct.
For the second fight. So, but be it here nor there, though, I don't know. But it's funny. I saw a thing. They said that last night's fight was the first time that the heavyweight title's been decided where either Daniel Cormier or Stipe Miocic have not been involved in a fight, I think, since 2015.
Really? Wow.
I mean, so, that's almost like when you look at the presidency of the United States, at some point, when you go back through the history of the presidency, there's either been a Bush or a Clinton in office.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So I didn't realize that, but boy, talking about that was interesting. Now, say that Stipe and Cormier both earned their keep. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they were there legitimately, but it was just, that tells you what the heavyweight title scene has looked like for a long time. So,
right. I think also with that, let me pull up the Twitter, but if Francis Ngannou expects to go over to the world of boxing, he's going to have to do a lot of training because Tyson Fury is going to knock him out fast.
Your tweet was absolutely on par. Listen, Tyson Fury's not going to go in there and necessarily knock him out in the first round. But what Tyson Fury's going to do is he's going to do just what he did to Deontay Wilder. He's going to lay on him. He's going to impose his will. and he is going to beat him pillar to post. And
Right.
look, I'm going to tell you right now, Ngannou's not is Deontay Wilder is just as dangerous of a knockout artist as Francis Ngannou, and Deontay Wilder is a full-time boxer that worked his way up to Tyson Fury, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Ngannou, and I'm not taking anything away from Ngannou, but the guy's skill level versus Tyson Fury, they shouldn't be sharing the ring together. Period.
Right.
You know, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say the tweet was, "Congratulations, Francis Ngannou, but if you want to make some real money, see the Gypsy King." So, I just don't think
it'd be money, but again, I don't think it makes sense for the UFC to let their current heavyweight champion fight the boxing champion. And quite frankly, Fury is not. I can't see Fury taking that fight as current champion when he has other guys that are in line for a title shot, because that's just bad business all the way around.
Right. So that, I think that would be just I don't know. It's just not even a fight that I get excited to hear about.
So I'll tell you. Well, I think you see a fight like that when neither man's holding the title. You know, when Mayweather fought McGregor had essentially retired from MMA. You know, he wasn't planning to actively defend his titles, and Mayweather had been retired. So I mean, you know, you didn't have the two current champions marching out there to do battle and see who's going to be the best.
Right.
And
what you saw with the, go ahead.
As I said, the last thing I'll say about it is I think that in order to make that a true, like if you were going to match up people from different genres, if they were truly wanting to argue about who's the best of the best, the only way to be, in all fairness, the only way to be down the line with that is they'd have to set up, the boxer would have to be willing to go to meet the MMA guy in the octagon, period. And ask James, Tony about that.
Right. Well, if you think back to McGregor, I know they were talking about him when he fought Mayweather. One of the big things was he changed his stance in boxing.
Right.
And so then he went from having his legs were out more like a karate base to being was into a boxing stance. And then once he went into the boxing stance, as you saw, he lost to Khabib. He lost to Dustin Poirier twice.
Right.
Because he thought he was going to be able to box it.
Now you're right. So, I don't think it's a good move for Ngannou to go try to make a move over to boxing. And if he does, great. But you need to get into it. You need to actually apply yourself, because doing boxing full time is different than doing MMA, because MMA you're learning a little bit of everything. Boxing is, you know, there's very close similarities, but it's two different training regimens that you go through.
Right. Absolutely. So let's see. So then we had Figueiredo. He won the belt back. From my understanding, it was a really good fight. And now when I was listening to the guys on MMA Junkie, the way they were making it sound was he was probably going to be it was going to go for the champ, but it didn't. So that's what happens when you leave it in the hands of the judges, I guess.
Well, you know, if it was a close fight, which it appeared to be, I mean, those guys look like, had you watched that fight, you'd have really got your money out of it. But yeah, you know, and who knows, man? There could be a fourth fight between those two guys, because now they're, you know, granted that was the rubber match, but who knows? This could be another fight where they end up taking, you know, and having to do a fourth one because this fight was so close.
Right. Absolutely. And
you know, it's hard to say.
Right. So then I guess the next UFC's pay-per-view is going to be Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker in that rematch. That's February 12th in Houston.
That'll be good.
And
I like both
yeah,
those guys, and I like both those guys. I know Israel beat him the first time. I think Robert Whittaker is going to be a different fight for him this coming up, but I think it should be a really good fight between those guys. I would have to say if I had to pick, I'll probably give it to old Stylebender because I don't know, I just enjoy him, and what he brings to the table.
yeah. He's a good representation of the sport. And just to finish off the heavyweight championship, I guess I just want to say that if John Jones, I know he's been out on the shelf for a long time, but if he comes back, he's going to probably go straight to a title shot. I don't see how you're not going to send him straight to it. And if he does, he's going to win the belt.
Yeah, only thing John Jones is going to have to avoid is Ngannou's heavy hands.
Right.
If he goes to the ground, I don't care what kind of improvement Ngannou has made. He's up against probably the greatest athlete, pound for pound fighter that's ever graced the octagon. I'm telling you, man, when John Jones called out Brock Lesnar, and old Brock acted like he was, going to toy with the idea of going back, there was nowhere that fight went good for Brock. John Jones matches him on the ground. John Jones tears him up on the feet. So, same thing with Ngannou. There is nowhere. Well, Ngannou's a heavy threat on the feet because of his striking or because of his knockout power.
Right.
But, again, Ngannou's not going to be the first guy that John Jones has fought that has had knockout power. So,
oh, absolutely.
DC has knockout power.
Right. I just hope John Jones gets his act together. I know it seems like every time you think he's going to get it together, he'll mess it up. So,
well,
he's one of them guys that sabotaged his own career. And it was very similar to, I think, Cain Velasquez. I think you could see that he could have been the greatest heavyweight of all time, but you can't call him that. I don't care, because he was injured all the time.
Right.
And in turn, he's almost because of his training, he sabotaged his own career. Now, maybe that wasn't him. He was taking it from listening to his coaches, but still, his career ended because of just stupid little things. And that's what's happened with John Jones.
Yeah.
So that's a sad thing. And okay, let's move on to. I heard an interesting rumor from Nick Aldis. He was on Conan's podcast, and he said that he has a source inside WWE that said when the contract's up with Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, Amazon's going to slide in and buy it and buy the actual production. And Rock's going to be involved with it. And the reason that Triple H has been pretty much pushed out of NXT and things is because Nick Khan is friends with The Rock. They were childhood friends. And they've had a lot of things. So because Rock, if you remember, the rumor's always been that when Rock first started, Shawn Michaels, he wouldn't work with Shawn Michaels because Shawn Michaels gave him such a rough time.
Okay.
And so then when Rock got big, he wouldn't work with Shawn Michaels. And I guess he still has anger towards Triple H, even though I thought they worked together.
Oh my God! It seemed like Rock was wrestling Triple H and turned around.
Right. So, but according to Nick Aldis, he was telling the guys on Conan's podcast that I guess Rock and Triple H don't get along. So in turn, I guess his buddy Nick Khan is pretty much pushed him out of NXT. And then when the WWE takes the sell, or when Amazon contract comes up, Amazon can slide in, and The Rock will become the.
Well, question: when is this contract up? Did he say?
I can't remember. I think it's got about 2 or 3 more years at least.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think it was a 5-year deal
yeah.
with them.
Well, you've been saying and been kind of keeping loose tabs on this, but I think it's a safe assumption that the WWE is for sale.
Right.
But hefty price it's come with. Listen, McMahon has built an extensive library that covers pro wrestling from all different angles. You know, not just WWE, but from NWA to WCW to AWA. World Class Championship Wrestling. I mean, just that library by itself, holy crap! That right there's cash money. But he has not only the library, but I mean, he has built up a pretty impressive empire with because look, at the end of the day, man, WWE was the only ones that got it together with the music. Vince realized, hey man, people want to listen to these entrance music, and I can sell CDs with this, just my entrance music's on it, and people are going to buy it. And he started generating, gosh, who knows how much profit off of just entrance music. And now, them guys are coming out to full-fledged songs and stuff. And I mean, it's not just music anymore; it's an actual song. And
Right.
but I mean, then that, and then of course they've been successful now with the movies because Vince finally pulled his head out of his ass and realized that you can't build a successful movie studio and keep plugging your fucking wrestlers in as the main stars and expecting people to come see it, because it doesn't matter how good it is, people are not going to come see it. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of like WCW there at the end. It was like anybody and their brother was getting a made for TBS movie out of WCW. I mean, Diamond Dallas Page and Sting and all these guys. But be it here or there, though, WWE has moved away from that. Now they've got their name on some movies that that they help bring to life, but didn't necessarily pump it full of wrestlers.
Right. That's a good thing. But I just thought it was a really interesting thing. I had never heard that Nick Khan and The Rock were friends, and now it's going to be something. I'm telling you. Uh, it's definitely, I think you're seeing a lot of smoke come from that company.
I agree. I think there's truth to them wanting to sell, and on some level that's kind of sad because the day's going to come. You're going to see they're going to sell.
Right. And there was an interesting story. They're using old pictures, but they just talk about how Vince McMahon at 76 still does his 3 a.m. workouts as a personal trainer, with a personal trainer, after Raw and SmackDown shows. And I just find that, for him to be 76, I mean, once again, the pictures are using these old pictures, and he looks better, but he don't look good now. But still, it's pretty impressive that he gets up at 3 a.m. He's just a workhorse.
Oh my God, yeah, he I don't know, man. Like you said, he's 76. You'd find it strange, but you know what, man? Old habits die hard, and that dude has been hitting the gym and doing his thing. And what's one more hour? You know what I'm saying? Versus, instead of getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, he gets up at 3 o'clock in the morning and gets his workouts going. But if he's working out at 3 a.m., man, and then having a full day, whew,
or he's having his full day, and then afterwards, that's when he's got time. Because I remember reading, or Triple H was talking about how they flew from Europe back to the States, but then he went and worked out.
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing. But I thought it's an interesting piece here in this outside the UK Sun about it.
Now, I mean, McMahon is a very, whether you love him or you hate him, McMahon is a very interesting guy, and there's a lot of real positives, I think, about him, his work ethic. And look, let's be honest here, man. We've talked about how he killed the business and this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, he was a smart businessman. It's what he was. McMahon basically said it best. If these other guys didn't want to go out of business, they could have invested their money back into their business. The Crockett brothers made a couple of bad moves, and that was unfortunate because obviously that's where our loyalty lies. But had they not let Dusty get in their ear, because Why does Dusty need a private plane to fly around in?
Well, I think when you really look at the Crockett's and their downfall, because what Jim Crockett was wanting to do is what WWE is doing right now. The thing that he did, if you remember, I don't remember if it was in that DVD documentary, but the Glory Days, I believe it was called, Crockett Promotions. But I remember they said that they kept the accounting. The accounting that they had was just a small time accountant.
Right.
They had moved into a multi-million-dollar thing. They needed to upgrade.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And that was maybe had you had someone there, they would have said, "Look, Dusty's not flying in a plane, or if you do get a plane, you're going to have a lot more people on it than the Four Horsemen and Dusty Rhodes."
Yeah, that's true.
You know. So now let's roll in to DC Comics. Did you see they have came out and they said that they are going to kill the entire Justice League.
Yeah.
And
I don't know much about
go
that.
ahead. Yeah, it's talking about 25 years ago, Superman died at the hands of Doomsday, and in the issue, Superman 75, he became iconic. Now Superman is dying again, and this time it also includes the rest of the Justice League, Batman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, let's see, Green Lantern, which is the John Stewart one, and then let's see, Superman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Batman. Yep. So they don't know how it's going to take off if the female Clark, what is it, John Kent or whatever, takes over for Superman, and Nightwing again takes over for Batman. But it's a multiverse where these bad guys in the multiverse come and fight off, or will be fighting the Justice League.
Yeah. Well, who knows? I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like DC circling the drain. I think the day is going to come. We're going to read where Marvel's purchased DC from AT&T and Warner Brothers.
Well, it's because of the suits there. They don't want to do anything with them, so you get what you get. You know.
That's right.
And but yes, but now with this multiverse, I was reading another story where Sony was interested in doing more Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield.
Right. That's right. Man, that's cash money right there.
It could be, but how is it going to turn into a lot more? So many Spider-Mans out there, it's going to start affecting the other Spider-Man when or they all. Who knows?
So I think if they're smart, there's a way they could do it. But now that since they've opened the door, they need to kind of keep that thread there so that it keeps some continuity to what fans are seeing, so it doesn't start muddying the waters. Does that make sense? You see what I'm saying? It's like, right. But I definitely think for what they did with Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield absolutely needs his third movie. Give that man his trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I see no reason not to, and
the
fans, I think they were, you know, like I know we talked last week. You were talking about Doctor Strange, how I think Tom Cruise might be Iron Man or Tony Stark.
Yeah,
you know, they were talking about like with the Doctor Strange, just how the Fantastic Four and the X-Men show up or something.
Yeah.
So, you know, I would like to see, I mean, some of them, obviously, I think you're going to recast all of the Fantastic Four. But some of the X-Men were good X-Men. You know, if they still wanted to do the part, I know like Hugh Jackman didn't want to do the part no more, I don't believe. But if they want to do the part, I would bring them over since fans already know.
Yeah, I was going to say that the thing is with the multiverse, man, they can. Anybody look, the Fantastic Four from the John Singleton movie could be brought in with the multiverse here. You know, right. Doom from those movies could be brought in. I mean, you know, there's potential there. I'm not saying that they would, because I don't think people endure them like they did the two Spider-Man, but you know what I mean? But the potential's there. Hell, they can bring in the Fantastic Four from the bootleg movie we watched.
Well, yeah. Well, if you remember, the guy who played the television Spider-Man from years ago, he wanted in.
They should have brought him in.
Let
me tell you something. That would be so obscure. But there would be a lot of interesting takes on that, and they could have really had fun with that too. Because at that dude's age and him coming in as Spider-Man, they could have really done some fun things with him, and been funny and made, you know what I'm saying? But then people would have looked and went back to those movies, and it wouldn't have lived up to what they're seeing now. But boy, that would have been fun, yeah.
But like you said, if they brought the Fantastic Four from that shitty Roger Corman movie, and then all of a sudden they show up, and then you have the what's the guy? Michael B. Jordan, I think was the Human Torch. You could bring them all. I mean, like you said, I mean they have. And then here comes.
They need to have a good Fantastic Four first before they start bringing the trash in.
Oh, absolutely.
So they still haven't had a definitive. I mean, they've took a couple good swings, but they haven't had what I think people would say is the definitive Fantastic Four movie.
No, they were definitely, there was a couple of them.
And I didn't, for what it's worth, I didn't think not the Michael B. Jordan one, but the other two where they actually had two of them.
Right.
Casting wise, I thought they were cast fine. I just think they had some missteps with some of the handling, like especially like with Galactus. And then I think Doctor Doom. I mean, I still don't think Doctor Doom's been done. Doctor Doom started to kind of find his legs in the second one, but I didn't think they were terrible as far as that was concerned. I thought the people they cast to be the Fantastic Four looked really good, looked the parts.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what we had there. So, let's see. Do you have anything else that you wanted to add in?
All I got for this week.
All right, that sounds good. That's all I've got. So, all right, we will call it a day. So until next time, I'm Brian.
I'm Murdoch.
We'll see you later.
Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. You can follow us on social media at Twitter. We're at Potato Shop PC. Instagram, Potato Shop Podcast. Then go over to YouTube. Follow us there. Subscribe to the channel. It's Potato Shop PC. And follow us. Share it. Like it. Do whatever. Till next time, my friends.